Hello friends, in today's session we are going to discuss the case of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited Hyderabad versus Mr. Ajit Prasad Takhe. Let us first understand this case in brief. In this case, the plaintiff, an employee of the defendant company, was suspended pending an investigation. He filed a petition in court seeking to declare the suspension and investigation as illegal. The trial court initially issued an interim order but later revoked it. The first appellate court modified the trial court's decision by staying the investigation but upholding the suspension. The High Court intervened and stayed both the suspension and the investigation. The Supreme Court ruled that the High Court had no jurisdiction to interfere with the first appellate court's order, as the latter had acted within its jurisdiction. Consequently, the Supreme Court set aside the High Court's decision and reinstated the order of the first appellate court. Now let us examine this case in detail. Answer: Appellate Hindustan Aeronautics Limited Hyderabad versus Respondent Shri Ajit Prasad Takhe. Reference AIR 1973 SC 76. Subject matter: what is the jurisdiction of the subordinate courts under section 115 of the Civil Procedure Code? If the order passed is within the jurisdiction of the court, can the High Court intervene? Facts of the case. First, the respondent was employed in the appellant company. Point 2. Certain charges were brought against him by the company. Point 3. The plaintiff was suspended until the completion of the inquiry. Point 4. The plaintiff immediately approached the court and filed a petition to declare the inquiry proceedings invalid. Additionally, he requested the suspension order to be declared illegal. Point 5. He also argued that the proceedings initiated against him were motivated by malice. Point 6. His claim was that the general manager of the defendant company bore ill will against him and as a result initiated the proceeding against him. Trial court proceedings. In the case, the plaintiff requested an interim injunction to halt his suspension process and simultaneously to stop the inquiry proceedings. The learned trial judge issued an ex parte interim order as requested by the plaintiff. However, after hearing both parties, the order was later set aside. First appellate court. Dissatisfied with the trial court decision, the plaintiff appealed to the appellate court. The first appellate court modified the trial court's order. It directed the defendant to suspend the inquiry proceedings until the final decision of the suit. However, regarding the suspension order, it upheld the trial court's decision. Revision in the High Court. Aggrieved by the decision, both the plaintiff and the defendant approached the Andhra Pradesh High Court for revision. The High Court accepted the plaintiff's revision petition but dismissed the defendant's petition. Additionally, the High Court nullified the suspension order and halted the inquiry proceedings. Appeal before the Supreme Court. Two appeals were filed before the Supreme Court against the decision of the High Court. The Supreme Court ruled that the High Court had no jurisdiction to interfere with the order of the first appellate court. The court observed that whether the order of the first appellate court was right or wrong, whether it was in accordance with the law or not, one fact was clear: it had jurisdiction to pass the order. Since it was not in dispute that the first appellate court had not exercised its jurisdiction in an illegal or irregular manner, the High Court could not invoke its jurisdiction under section 115 of the Civil Procedure Code. In this regard, The Supreme Court referred to the case of Pandurang Dhoni versus Maruti Hari Jadhav AIR 1966 SC 153. Appeal number 844 1971 was allowed while appeal number 841 was dismissed. The Supreme Court restored the order of the first appellate court and set aside the decision of the High Court, thereby allowing the appeal. Legal principle established: as long as the first appellate court has not exercised its jurisdiction illegally or irregularly, the High Court cannot invoke its jurisdiction under section 115 of the Civil Procedure Code. Please watch full video, share and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.